Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. We're talking about Tim Mesa. You might not even know who this is. This is a guy the Yankees just called up, formerly of the Toronto Blue Jays. Really good bullpen arm in the past, 32 years old right now. And he's got an opportunity to be another one of those gem finds for pitching coach Matt Blake. And, Blake has gotten a lot of value out of guys who we don't really know who they are at times. And something like, oh, Michael Tonkin, like, nice to meet you. Tim Hill, you may be on the verge of retirement. Some good value there. We've gotten a lot of production from guys picked up off the street, off waiver claims. The Yankees don't really spend that much money on the bullpen right now. They have the 10th best ERA in the game. But of course, we know over the last month or two, they have been regressing. There have been situations where we've been a little worried. Clay Holmes has been very volatile recently. Mark Leiter Jr. Has been bad, and that's saying it kindly. And then Eniel De Los Santos has been DFA'd. So the two major bullpen acquisitions we made at the deadline have turned out to be major busts. Now, if you look at the San Diego Padres, they've gotten a lot of value from Tanner Scott and some of the bullpen arms they acquired. And, Brian Cashman couldn't afford to lose this deadline. And at this point, he's lost this deadline. Now, Jazz Chisholm obviously was unbelievable over a 14-game stretch with 7 homers, but he's injured right now. So, this is kind of an issue where you're saying to yourself, the Yankees did not get much better at the deadline unless Jazz gets healthy and is able to play at a high level during the postseason, or Mark Leiter Jr. turns things around. I have to say, I am concerned about that we didn't make enough improvements to really, get to the point we want to be at, which is a World Series appearance. Now, looking at kind of a low-key relief pitcher in Tim Mesa, the main issue for him was a loss of velocity. Now, it seems like his velocity may have returned. Ryan, you wrote about him a couple days ago. First appearance with the Yankees, looked really solid, touched 95 with a sinker. Is this something that you're encouraged by? Do you think that this could be one of those next Matt Blake gems? Every time we go out and get somebody off the street, I'm like, this guy could be good. Now, last year, Tim Mesa had a really good ERA. He was actually very, very solid. So who's to say he can't turn things around and be a nice impact piece for this team down the stretch?
Yeah, it was really interesting to kind of, I guess, look at that game after it happened, look at what Tim Mesa did. Look, it's one outing, right? I don't think either of us sitting here and saying because of that one outing, he is going to become a stud or refine himself. But rather, I think there is a case to be made that Tim Mesa may have been dealing with something with Toronto because the Yankees kind of shut him down for a little bit after they signed him. He was assigned, and I'm going to put this in quotation marks, assigned to the Florida Complex League Yankees, but he didn't start throwing until late July. So there's about a 2-week window where he was not throwing in affiliated games. Perhaps it was to get him right mechanically. Maybe he just needed some rest. Maybe he just needed some time off. Maybe he was just dealing with fatigue, whatever it may be. But velocity is a huge, and I mean huge part of what makes a reliever effective. And I know for some people, they don't understand the gap between like 1 or 2 miles per hour in terms of velocity, but it's a massive one. When you look at Tim Mesa's underlying numbers, so his fastball is at or above 93 miles an hour, that being his sinker, of course. It has a 267 expected WOBA, a 23.1% hard hit rate, and 0 barrels allowed. That's this season, where he's really struggled. When it's at or below 93 miles an hour, it's a 435 expected weighted on base average, a 49.1% hard hit rate, and a 12.3% barrel rate. So, for example, guys, a 434 xWOBA, that's, right around where Aaron Judge's career xWOBA is at, if I'm not mistaken. And then a 266. I don't know if there's a comparison. That's a really bad hitter. Like, you'd have to be, like, I don't know, who's like a really bad hitter to play for the Yankees? And I know people are going to say, like, I don't know, start listing players on this team. I mean, like, a truly atrocious one. Like, the kind of guy who, like, wouldn't play at the major league level. But, we're talking about Aaron Judge versus like a below replacement level player. So when he's throwing hard, things are going well. And he's got a lot of extension too. So he adds about a half a tick to an extra mile per hour in his fastball when you factor in the extension. And it's a bowling ball sinker. And Alex, the Yankees need some left-handed help in that bullpen. Tim Hill's been solid, but he doesn't really miss bats, so that's kind of a concern. Mesa struck out about 24% of batters faced last year. He can be an above average bat misser, and he keeps the ball on the ground a ton. If he is 75 to 80% of what he was in 2023, he's going to really help this bullpen. And then you start kind of listing names, and I wrote some names on the whiteboard of the bullpen. And look, Mark Leiter Jr. has not gotten it going. I think he can, but he has not thus far. I think he's a talented pitcher. I think he can, and I think he will. You have Hamilton coming back. You have Tonkin, Canley, Weaver, Cousins, Holmes. if Mesa can fit in and be that guy for you, that bullpen feels like it takes another step forward, and that's not factoring in potentially getting Lou Trevino back. A guy like Scott Efros, his velocity's upticked a little bit. The Yankees gave him about a week off in AAA, and then he started to throw the ball a little better. We'll see if he can get the ball rolling again, if the Yankees can get him online. And look, I know that everyone's all down in Yankee world right now, and it's easy to be down in the Yankee world right now. The team's kind of been they've been meh. They've been like what, a 500 team for a couple months now. They're in first place. It's by half a game, so not really by much, but hey, they're still in first place. Everyone else in the league kind of feels like they suck, right? It feels like everyone kind of sucks. The Orioles bullpen stinks. The Yankees bullpen, it's a lot of question marks. The lineup kind of is hot and cold sometimes, but Alex, if Mesa can find it, it's Matt Blake and Sam Breen. These two guys are renowned for what they do. They're the two of the best at their jobs. I feel pretty good about saying if Mesa's velo's there, he'll produce.
Yeah, I mean, he has in the past, and that's kind of the most important thing is, he's not 3 years removed from a good season. He is 32 years old, still relatively young in bullpen age, and he had a 1.52 ERA last year, an expected 3.38 ERA, but still very solid, something the Yankees would love to have right now. The strikeouts, yes, they're down, and he was not very good for Toronto this year. But with the Yankees, if that velocity is back up, you're feeling pretty good about where Mesa is, and that ground ball rate historically is over 50%. If he gets back to those types of numbers, you're going to get a lot of value from a player like this, who's obviously they picked up and have been stashed in their AAA, and then elevate him. They signed him to a contract. I think they're going to see what they got. Why he can't be any worse than a guy like Tim Hill, who's 40 years old now. So I kind of feel like Tim Mesa may be a very low-key, solid acquisition for this team. I'm not going to say I'm going to call it now that he's going to be a really nice bullpen piece moving forward, but he fits the exact profile for guys that end up becoming good with the Matt Blake kind of strategy and the Matt Blake situation. He's the exact profile you want. A guy that has the velocity coming back, coming off a good year, had a tough start in Toronto. And here he comes, hopefully he can string together some good performances, because we could really use an arm like this right now. But I'll ask you this, Ryan, we've talked about Clay Holmes a lot. What do you think's going on with Mark Leiter Jr.? Why is he stinking right now? Why is he such a liability? This is not a guy that was supposed to be this bad. I mean, he looked good in the first 6 innings or so with the Yankees, but since then he's been a complete abomination. What is it that stood out to you? Is it just dumb luck? Is it not, I haven't seen anything different with his velocity by most accounts, but, what are your thoughts on it? Have you seen anything that maybe has disappointed you or thrown you off that says, yeah, he's just not looking his best self right now?
Maybe it's command. I mean, he's not missing as many bats as he did with Chicago. I also think it's maybe a small sample size thing. It's 10 games, that kind of deal, that kind of spiel. It's tough, man. I mean, the Yankees, they got a guy who misses bats, right? I know that everyone's going to say, well, his ERA was 4.2 something. Hey, he missed so many bats. He didn't give up home runs. You bet on that guy 10 times out of 10, right? You bet on that guy as much as you possibly can. And yes, I think there's, to an extent, I think he's just pitching worse with the Yankees, honestly. He's getting barreled more, he's getting hit harder, not getting ground balls, not missing as many bats. Could be a command thing. He's also not throwing his splitter as aggressively, which I think is so dumb. It's by far his best pitch. He shouldn't be down about 4% in that usage rate. Dude, that's your money pitch. Throw that as much as possible. I don't need to see the cutter more. I don't need to see the sinker more. I don't need to see any of that. I need to see that splitter more, because that pitch rocks. So that's really where I'm at. Sometimes we'll just walk guys and it's stupid. It's like against Chicago where Jake Cousins comes in and saves the day. That inning where he gives up one of the runs in the 8th inning. It's like, dude, what the hell are you doing walking these people? I don't know if I did something stupid. I don't know.
Just a wild video just popped up on my feed as I was researching.
I'm like, dude, just something in my background. I know I'm not staring at my monitor at all times.
I was looking something up relevant to what we're talking about, and there's this stupid video popped up, and I just couldn't tell.
Sorry. This is a little bit off rails, but Alex, when we were at the Fanatics event, dude, I can't open my For You page on Twitter in public anymore. It's a problem.
So bad.
It's a problem, man. I'm not I keep what I search up on Twitter pretty mundane, pretty PG.
Yeah, it's mostly just football and baseball for me.
Right, but then dude, I'll be scrolling. I'm in the media room and I'm like, what is this post in front of me? I gotta shake my head aggressively, I can't believe this. Because I'm like, dude, I hope the person behind me was sick fuck. You know what I mean?
No. To be honest, everyone, if you're in sports, you're on Twitter or you're on whatever, and the same thing's happening to the people behind you. Oh damn, the same thing's happening on my feed too. Everyone's kind of saying the same
yeah,
thing. It's just sports butt cheeks, sports butt cheeks.
It's crazy, man.
It's just how it is on Twitter these days.
I don't want to see that stuff. I hide half. I try to like click the hide. Like I don't want to see this. I want to see. Look, guys. When we're talking about seeing ass, I want to see. It's about we're talking baseball, not about the real stuff. When it comes to context of this podcast, of course. And end of the day, speaking of ass, Mark Leiter Jr. right now, I really do think it's a small sample size thing. I don't want to talk myself into saying something really bad. I do think it's a small sample size thing. I don't think he's actually bad. And for the bullpen as a whole, will we talk about the bullpen if Clay Holmes closes out the game? No. Did he not close out the game? Yes. Do we have to talk about what happened instead of what could have happened, what should have happened? Yes, absolutely. I feel good about Luke Weaver. I feel really good about Jake Cousins. Tim Mesa is just kind of like and kind of tying this back to the star of the show, the topic of conversation with Mr. Mesa. As mentioned, he's got a pedigree of this, right? He's got a very extensive track record. Guys can get hot, guys can get cold, guys can find it, guys can just need some time off. Relievers are a very fickle, weird position group. You can get unlucky for a season. You can have just like one really bad month tank your entire year. They got to find it though, and I think Mesa, he can find it. His velo's up. Everybody has a hole in this team. It just kind of feels like we're not really sure. Alex, can you confidently tell me how good you think this Yankee team is? Like, compared to 22, compared to 21, obviously they're better than 23. Compared to 2020, I think they're obviously better than that team, but even then, that was a 60-game season. It's hard to kind of stack this team up with other teams. Everyone kind of says they're struggling the same way they always do. I don't remember questioning this bullpen before. I remember maybe the offense, right? They don't hit enough, they don't score enough runs. Maybe the starting pitching at times, but this is a weird situation. This is the first time where I think, Alex, they've had maybe too many project arms, where they've relied on too many guys for question marks, where we're talking about too many guys who they need to turn around or they need to get more out of, instead of just bona fide studs. I don't believe in paying relievers, but there is something to be said about having, like a Dylan Betances, or having an Andrew Miller, or having a Zach Britton in his prime, or having an Aroldis Chapman. As much as I freaking despise the guy, he was really good at some point in his career. It's weird. This offseason will be an interesting one. I think, when we get there, we'll talk about this more extensively, but they kind of need to get a stud. You talk about the deadline, too, where you mentioned in the beginning, it felt like Brian Cashman maybe didn't do enough. They didn't get a stud, right? They didn't get a Tanner Scott. They didn't get a Jason Adam. They didn't get a,
You got a piece that would win you a damn World Series in a critical moment. They didn't get a piece if it's Game 7 of the World Series and you're up by 1 run and Clay Holmes steps in there. We are collectively shitting bricks.
You know what they got a guy in Leiter where you could see why he's good. You can see what it's going to make
in the
work.
show, he freaking lets me down. I use this guy in the show and
which guy to clarify, Leiter or Holmes?
Leiter.
Oh,
Holmes. Damn. Holmes, I'll say this, Holmes, his sliders in the show are freaking amazing.
Dude, he's a 235 stuff plus in his slider. You know what 235 is, guys?
It's ridiculous. His stuff in the show, his sliders in the show are ridiculous. His sinker can't locate it. Leiter Jr., the velocity, it's coming at 92, and they're absolutely crushing me. They're crushing
me. It feels like Leiter, his
low pitches are impossible to identify. I can't, when it's coming in low, I swing no matter what.
I'm really bad at the show. I haven't gotten the show this year. I don't know. I'm not really.
Terrible game.
I feel like I got to get more into playing these sports games because I feel like I did it a lot as a kid. I just haven't lately.
I'm a FIFA guy myself.
I gotta get into FIFA. That's the one I've never played. I've never picked up I've never owned the game. I've never played it. I've never played FIFA in my life. I think I gotta get it.
You're crazy. Yeah. FIFA's a classic, dude.
I've got to get into it. Aren't they changing the name of that to something else? Am I crazy?
Yeah, they lost the rights to FIFA. It's EAFC now or something.
Of course. That's a whole different conversation for another day about sports games and sports marketing and franchising. But as it comes to this bullpen, I think the thing the Yankees didn't get, and look, I don't think the Yankees had the worst deadline ever. I still think Jazz is a really cool pickup, and I love Jazz, and I think he'll have an impact on his team for this year and the future. But looking at that bullpen again, it just misses. You didn't bring in a guy where you go, in the 9th inning, I'll bring him in, right? They didn't bring in a guy where you go, all right, here's Tanner Scott, right? Here's Jason Adam, here's Yimi Garcia's really struggled, or a guy like Lucas Urquhart has really taken off with Kansas City. They need a guy to come in and just immediately produce. This team feels like they're still missing things, and that's not great because the deadline's passed. They're gonna have to rely on guys coming back from the injured list. Cody Poteet started his rehab assignment today. I think that's when he's gonna start his. I don't really look at Poteet and go, he's starting a playoff game, or I don't even know if I'm throwing him in the playoff bullpen, but he's another arm. It helps. I don't know. I don't like doing the doom and gloom thing about a team that's in first place. I think that's stupid. I think that's short sighted. You know, the postseason is the postseason. That's when we'll judge this team. And I've seen people say this, and this is kind of where I'm at. This team is going to be judged in October, right? They're either they can't prove anything to me in late August or early September or late September that is going to override what they can do in the postseason. If they lose the division and win the World Series, I don't give a shit about the division, right? If they win the division and get knocked out in the first round, and the Orioles also get knocked down in the first round, I'm not gonna go, well, we won the division. Like, I'll be like, we lost in the first round. It was a disappointing playoff exit. You know, they've got to define themselves in October. That's really where it's at. Holmes, like, dude, if Holmes is nails in the postseason, dude, I'll throw money at him. I don't care. Like, dude, he's a hero in my book, right? If Leiter's nails in the postseason, hero in my book. If Alex Verdugo has a 900 OPS in the postseason, the Yankees win the World Series, he's a hero. He's a hero. Mm-hmm. It's what it is. Should you be banking on Alex Verdugo to have a 900 OPS to win the World Series? No, not at all. But I'm just saying, like, I think everyone can get together to agree on one thing about this team. As long as certain guys in this team get it done in the postseason, I don't care.
Dude, if Aaron Judge and Monsoto go parabolic in the postseason, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine. As long as Clay Holmes doesn't blow any saves, we'll be fine. As long as Garrett Cole plays well, we'll be fine. You know, like, we just have to have our best players play like our best players. Play like the players.
They have enough star talent. And Holmes needs to be the closer.
Dude, the Yankees have way more than enough star talent. I mean, you have Judge and Soto on the same team. Like, that should be enough. Stanton, when he's hot, is a star talent. You know what I mean?
Jazz
Chisholm is a star talent when he's on his game. Garrett Cole is a superstar talent. Even Heel is a star talent when he's playing well. Rodon's supposed to be a star talent. You know, you see out of the bullpen, like, you have those guys. Like, Holmes is supposed to be a. I mean,
it's so frustrating to watch Holmes. It's so frustrating to watch Holmes, and I'm gonna put for this one reason, because you see it with the stuff, man.
The stuff is nasty.
He'll blow a save in the same outing where you'll look at his flight and go, "Damn, that's filthy."
Untouchable.
Like, I remember thinking to myself,
it's the sinker.
I remember thinking to myself in two distinct moments. I was like, dude, his stuff looks wicked. And he blew both of those saves. Against Boston, we gave up the home run to Yoshida. I remember he was throwing this sinker. I was like, dude, is that a screwball or a sinker? What the hell is that? Against Philly, I'm like, dude, he's throwing sweepers and sliders, and it's gross. And then it's like, that guy blows a save. So he has it's consistency. I think part of it is dumb luck. I wrote about this morning. I think there is a large element of dumb luck involved here. But, you know, they have the talent. It just feels like we've seen them click. We've seen they beat the brakes off Philly, right? We've seen them walk into Baltimore and snatch their chain. We've seen them beat down on some good teams. But it's got to click. Like, it's got to click. They can't sleepwalk through a Detroit series. Like, this upcoming series against Cleveland, I don't care if they just got swept. You got to play every game like you're playing your ass off. And there are guys in this team who should be playing their ass off for jobs. Like Oswald Peraza. Like, there's a lefty on the mound tonight. Dude, go out there. Yeah, take your daddy hacks. Take your ace swing. Go win a job, dude. Go win this job. I'm not saying he is going to. I don't really necessarily believe in him to be the starting third baseman of this team. I think he would agree. But go win that freaking job, man. Cabrera, go win that job. I want guys in this team to fight to win jobs. But I also need Aaron Boone to manage in a style in which, yeah, you're willing to say Verdugo isn't going to have this job. In a way that means, yeah, LeMahieu ain't going to play. Like, the kind of way in which the roles on this team aren't static, right? Guys should be able to fight to earn jobs in this team. If Peraza plays well, you should stay. I don't know if he's good or not, but if he plays well, you should stay. Let these people fight for their jobs, because I think that's going to create a competitiveness. And at the end of the day, we're talking fluff right now, competitive locker room. We're not in the locker room. You don't know these guys, but it's exciting, I guess. I don't know. I want guys to fight for jobs. I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I hope that somebody steps up. Hopefully there's a couple heroes in this team that haven't done a lot this year and show up in the postseason, because you need at least one or two of those guys to go out and win the damn thing. You do. You just do. But that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and listen, this team, we know the star talent is there. This turned from a Tim Mesa video into a comprehensive breakdown of the New York Yankees, which I feel like happens every time we talk about this team. We end up just breaking them down every single episode, but the same issues present themselves. And look, this team is not void of star talent. They're really just void of consistency. And that's really where we ask ourselves, can they be consistent at the right time? I don't give a look, and I think Ryan, you'll confirm this. Nobody gives a rat's ass what they did in the regular season if they're winning in the postseason. If they're on fire in the playoffs, I don't care about August 20th against the Cleveland Guardians. I don't care about July 20th against whoever the hell. I don't care about getting blown out by the Los Angeles Angels. If you get red hot and win a championship and do it in the playoffs, I don't give a crap that we lost to the Chicago White Sox.
I get
really
frustrated when I see people say, like, the season's over, or, like, this team's clearly not winning the World Series. It's like, shut the fuck up. They gotta play. Let them play. Let them play. I'm not saying I gotta like this team. I'm not saying I gotta buy into this team.
You criticize them.
Yeah, we criticize. I'm not saying I think this team's gonna win the World Series, but let them play. Before we call this season a failure, let them play the postseason, because we all know we don't judge this team on August. We judge this team on October. Let them play. I think that's all I can ask of a Yankee fan. Just let them play in October. That's it. If when they lose, then you go out. Then call it a failure. Call for jobs. We could do the whole doom and gloom thing then. Until then, I wake up tomorrow knowing they got World Series odds. I hope the day after knowing they got World Series odds.
They have just as good a chance as anybody at winning the chip.
Exactly.
Man. Like that, and I think that's our, like, what we have to remember is this team is good enough, just as good as any other team, to get hot and do it at the pinnacle moment. I mean, look, we saw the Diamondbacks get there, and they were not supposed to be there. So teams do it all the time. The Rangers got hot. You know, Jordan Montgomery has this as the postseason of his life. You never know. Luis Gil suddenly gets red hot. Carlos Rodon suddenly gets hot. Like, you just don't know. Players elevate their performance in games like that. And look, the Yankees are going to put the best guys out there, the guys that want it the most. And Juan Soto knows what it takes to win a championship. He's going to lead this Yankee team. As much as Aaron Judge is this captain, Ryan, Juan Soto is going to lead this team into the playoffs. And I think that that's something that we have to remember, is that this guy is a 25-year-old who's won a World Series already, right? Like, he knows what it takes from a team to get there, and he has to lead them through those weeds. Judge keeps the team together, but Soto's carved the path. He's already done it, right? The bricks are laid. Just got to follow it. And he knows everyone. Like, if he comes in the room, you know, first playoff game, boys, new season. Verdugo, your numbers, no one cares. No one cares what you did. Contract year, you have a chance to make a lot of money in this playoffs. Gleyber Torres, no one gives a rat's ass how poor you did in the regular season. If you have a great postseason, you'll get the contract that you want. You know what I mean? It's that simple. It's that simple. If those guys have big playoffs, they erase all of the mistakes they made in the regular season. And that's kind of my perspective, is like, you win a championship, no one's going to be talking about how bad they were at certain points this year. They're going to be remembering that big hit in game 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of a World Series to get that run across, that sac fly, those little things, that stolen base, that bunt, that perfectly laid down bunt, that diving catch. That's what people remember, you know, not the mistakes when you succeed. So I'm excited, man. It's gonna be fun. September, as we get closer, hopefully we heat up, you know, get some good momentum going, because that's really what it is all about, is momentum in baseball. 1 month, we've talked about it. How many times have we seen a guy like Anthony Volpe have a really good month and then disappear for another month? And we're like, wow, he's red hot. Oh, he's ice cold. Oh, he's red hot. Same thing with Clay Holmes. Sometimes he's the best closer in baseball. Other times he's the most liability-ridden pitcher you could possibly find. So, you know, that's just baseball, man. Back and forth, ebbs and flows, seesaw. And we're here to kind of break it down. We're here to be critical because we love this team. But at the same time, I think it's fair to be critical, and it's fair to call out red flags and call out diminishing results, and hold players accountable for, you know, their actions and their production. So, you know, that's what we're here to do. But at the same time, huge fans, of course. We want the team to win. We do acknowledge that this team is as in good a place as any to win a championship, and just have to get hot at the right time, as I said a billion times. But as always, my friends, make sure to drop your comments down below in the YouTube comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys in the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.